If you've ever thought buses were boring, get ready to change your mind. In the mid-1950s, a bus was born with futuristic design, panoramic wraparound glass, luxurious seating, air conditioning, and a body that looked like a spaceship. This was the Flxible VL-100 Vista-Liner, the great hope of American interstate travel and Flxible's bold answer to GM's iconic scenic cruiser. Yet, despite being hailed as the bus of the future, the Vista-Liner was quickly buried by history. It was born into a race of innovation, cutthroat marketing wars, and dreams perhaps too big for its maker. So what went wrong? Why did such a groundbreaking design fail? And why today are the few remaining examples hunted down like precious artifacts by collectors? Let's uncover the mystery of America's most luxurious and most tragic bus ever built. In the early 1950s, America entered a boom era of interstate transportation. Highways stretched coast to coast, travel demand surged, and buses became the backbone of cross-country mobility. At the forefront was Greyhound, dominating the market with a massive fleet powered by GM's crown jewel, the scenic cruiser, a symbol of comfort and modernity. Meanwhile, Flxible, a much smaller company known for ambulances and transit buses, was seeking a way into the lucrative long-distance game. They couldn't beat GM with volume, so they aimed to win with quality and experience. Their big break came when Continental Trailways, Greyhound's rival, wanted a flagship bus of its own. They refused to keep using GM products. Too closely tied to Greyhound's image, what they wanted was something new, bold, upscale, and modern enough to stand as the icon of Trailways' national network. Flxible jumped at the chance. The Vista-Liner F100 project was born, not just to compete with the scenic cruiser, but to redefine long-distance American bus travel itself. But that bold move also meant going head-to-head with GM in a brutal tech war against a rival far stronger in engineering and deep-pocketed. And as you'll soon see, this was a battle the underdog would pay dearly to fight. When Flxible introduced the Vista-Liner VL-100 in 1956, many called it a spaceship on wheels. And indeed, its design was bold and futuristic, far ahead of its time. The first standout feature was the deck-and-a-half layout, a pseudo-double-decker structure. It wasn't a true two-level bus, but the passenger floor was raised in the middle, creating the illusion of a mezzanine. This not only gave riders an elevated view through large side windows, but also made the interior feel dramatically more spacious than standard coaches. The sides of the bus featured panoramic curved glass stretching from near the floor to the ceiling. Combined with skylight panels, the Vista-Liner offered a near 360-degree view, a breathtaking experience while cruising through scenic American highways. At a time when most buses had small square windows, the Vista-Liner looked like it had arrived from the future. Inside, it was pure luxury. Thickly padded leatherette seats with headrests, individual reading lights, soft fabric interior lining, and most notably, a full air conditioning system. An extremely rare feature in buses of that era. The exterior was crafted from gleaming stainless steel and aluminum with sleek curves and horizontal taillights, reminiscent of locomotives. Even the Vista Chrome emblem was proudly embossed on the side, a clear statement of its first-ass ambition. Beneath its sleek shell and futuristic look, the Vista-Liner FAL-100 was a sophisticated piece of engineering, though not without its flaws. The coach used a semi-Monco chassis, combining a partial frame with load-bearing body panels. This reduced overall weight while maintaining rigidity, providing a more stable and planted ride at highway speeds. Advanced thinking for the era. The Vista-Liner came with multiple diesel engine options, the most common being the Hercules HXE 407-8CI inline 6, or the Cummins JT 6B74 3CI. Both were four-stroke diesels tuned for low-end torque and cross-country endurance. However, compared to GM's Detroit diesel 8V71 two-stroke engine in the scenic Cruiser, these units had less torque and slower throttle response on steep inclines. Transmission was a Fuller Road Ranger 5-speed manual, non-synchronized, requiring skilled drivers to double clutch with precision. Some later units upgraded to 6-speed or offered Allison automatic gearboxes by special request. Suspension was handled by leaf springs, with hydraulic dampers providing decent comfort, though not as plush as the air ride systems adopted by later luxury coaches. The biggest drawback, sound insulation. With the engine mounted at the rear, cabin noise was pronounced, especially at high RPMs. Without regular maintenance, the drone could turn long rides into exhausting experiences. But engineering was only part of the story. When the Vista-Liner hit the road, especially within the fierce competition of the interstate bus industry, things got much more complicated. And at the heart of that complexity was one of America's most iconic brand wars, Greyhound versus Continental Trailways. One was the market-dominating giant, the other a defiant underdog. And it was this intense rivalry that gave rise to the Vista-Liner. Continental Trailways craved an exclusive fleet, something completely separate from GM's scenic Cruiser. They didn't just want a new bus. They wanted an icon, something passengers would see and instantly know, this is Trailways. Flxible received a large order from Trailways affiliated companies. Nearly the entire Vista-Liner production was absorbed into their network. Early on, things looked promising. Passengers were thrilled with the curved glass, high ceilings, plush seats, and cool air conditioning. Trailways launched heavy advertising, calling the Vista-Liner a hotel on wheels. But behind the curtain, problems quietly emerged. Electrical issues appeared. AC units were temperamental and soundproofing was poor. Most critically, maintenance costs soared and parts were scarce. Mechanics unfamiliar with the unique semi-monocoque chassis often struggled with repairs. Within just a few years, many Trailways branches began phasing Vista-Liners out. Some were relegated to secondary routes, others were stripped for parts or sold off. The dream of a distinctive fleet unraveled quickly. Meanwhile, Greyhound, despite facing flaws with the scenic Cruiser, still benefited from GM's vast support network. The Vista-Liner, no matter how beautiful, couldn't survive without a strong ecosystem behind it. In the end, it stood as a bitter reminder that being different isn't always a competitive advantage. In less than a decade, the Vista-Liner F-100 quietly vanished from America's highways. Not because of a catastrophic design flaw or scandal, but simply because it couldn't survive the game played by giants. Only about 250 to 275 Vista-Liners were built between 1956 and 1963. With such a small production run, there was never a robust ecosystem of support. No widespread parts network, no standardized maintenance knowledge, and no technical infrastructure. Smaller carriers couldn't afford to keep them running, and larger companies didn't want to invest in a minority fleet. In contrast, GM's scenic Cruiser, despite early problems like a non-synchronized gearbox and complex drivetrain, was backed with upgrades and massive support. With over 1,000 scenic Cruisers built, GM created a nationwide logistics chain, repair documentation, and an accessible parts inventory that made all the difference. The Vista-Liner, though superior in design and passenger experience, lost the logistical war. Without a major manufacturer behind it and lacking a broad fleet footprint, it became known as a beautiful nuisance. By the late 1960s, most Vista-Liners were retired. A few repurposed for charters or display. No headlines, no formal farewell, just silence. One day, they were gone. The dream of the futuristic bus fading as if it had never been. Though the Vista-Liner has long been forgotten by the mainstream among classic bus enthusiasts, it remains a quiet icon, a piece of mechanical art that was never fully appreciated in its time. Today, fewer than 20 confirmed Vista-Liners are known to still exist, most in non-operational condition or awaiting restoration. A rare few have been fully preserved, appearing at vintage bus events, transportation museums, or in private collections. The rest sit rusting in backyards, ghostly reminders of an unfinished dream. What's remarkable is that collectors and bus lovers don't see the Vista-Liner as a failure, but as a forgotten gem. With its curved glass, chrome badges, unique interiors, and aviation-inspired aesthetics, it represents a moment in American engineering when everything pointed toward the future. In recent years, the classic bus restoration movement has reignited interest in the Vista-Liner. Facebook groups, vintage bus forums, and retro transport YouTubers have begun to revisit its story. Some diehard fans have even spent tens of thousands of dollars to save what little remains. The Vista-Liner is no longer just a vehicle. It's become a symbol of a dream cut short. A story of boldness, pride, and the limits of ambition in the real world. That's what makes the surviving units truly priceless. The Vista-Liner never became the bus that changed American history as once hoped. And perhaps that's what makes its story even more powerful. A tale of bold ambition, overlooked beauty, and hard lessons from the transportation world. In an increasingly practical and fast-paced world, the Vista-Liner reminds us that sometimes designs that are too early or too different get left behind. But that doesn't make them worthless. In fact, it makes them more precious. If you love stories about vintage vehicles and dreams that never quite made it, leave us a comment, give this video a like, and subscribe to the channel. There are still so many stories waiting to be told.